pleasure to sit here with very important people, especially the legend, if I may say so, Mr. Ray Dalio, as well as Mr. Wei Ran from the Chinese Sovereign Fund, Qingtong. So we start by, there's a lot to ask and there is a lot to know here. And while backstage, we had very interesting discussion. And I wished everybody heard that. And I'm sure you all want to know what's going on there. But maybe we start by asking a question that I had in mind. Especially now that I knew a little bit about you, but I know more now. And knowing your background and that you have a very intimate relationship with China since 1984, and also in the UAE, and you're part-time resident of Abu Dhabi. So having a question in mind, how do you see a possible or the best way to collaborate between the UAE, China, USA, and other parts of the world? How do you see that?
Well, thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for having me here. That background, I'll tell you what it means to me. As you mentioned, since 1984, I've been able to develop very close relationships and develop and grow. When I first started, I was invited by CITIC, and it was the only window company, the only company dealing on the outside world, and I was involved with the development of all of the markets, and I've had an intimate relationship right up to the present, and I've developed a great affection. And as you mentioned, I have been coming here for 32 years, and this is a home. And so to come together, to be here together, all of you, it's a real joy. The world order is changing in very important ways that are important to understand in order to answer your question. I did a book called The Changing World Order, which was an examination of the last 500 years, and so you see these patterns. And so, what is most important? What is most important is the developing of relationships and being there together and realizing that through that process of excellent relationships in these two very important and wonderful places, that there is learning together in this very big changing world order. When I first went to China, for 10 years more, there was no money in China. I literally mean there was no money in terms of a storehold of wealth or anything. And now when I see the evolution, since I started going, per capita income has increased by 28 times, and things have changed. So now, as a global investor for Chinese, I think it is very important to understand the quality of relationships and to have experiences in this changing world order, and to know that there's a great cultural, and if you have the right relationships and you're doing things, then out of that comes understanding of the regions, understanding of the cultures, and the building of trust through doing things together and seeing how that works. I think it's very important now because the world order is changing in a way where there's not a dominant power, not the same dominant power. And a place like Abu Dhabi is a place that so welcomes people from all over the world that are wonderful people. They want quality people here. But the UAE, 80% of the population is from other countries. And they want the best talent and they want to do things together. So there are so many things that I could list that can be done, but I think the most important is to understand how to build quality relationships over a period of time and not just be transactional. We were talking backstage about the important thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money here, there's a lot of money in it's not just the money that matters.
Yeah.
It's more important than the money is the understanding that you can give each other, the perspectives that you can give each other, and then the building of that relationship which builds trust and wonderful things together.
Thank you, thank you. And I really encourage those who don't know Mr. Dalio to kind of do a little search on the internet so that they understand the importance of what he just said. But Mr. Wei Ran, understanding where you come, your background, where you come from as a seasoned investor and investment manager, what are the main factors that influence your investment decisions, particularly when working with international partners?
Thank you very much for the question, Doctor. It's my great pleasure and my honor to talk together with Dr. Ray Dalio and Mohammed.
Yes.
And also Your Excellency, the Prime Minister of France, and also the Minister of Economy of UAE. CCT Fund is a leading sovereign fund investing over technology and manufacturing and biotech in China. And we have all our investors and shareholders from over 30 most important Chinese SOEs, including 3 top telecom and 3 energy companies, and also most important Chinese construction companies. We have 4, and also manufacturing companies. So we are planning to be here to invest in all the sectors that you need. So the 2 most important thing that under our top consideration, number 1 is we would advise our investors from China to bring with you the best technology whatsoever to be here in order to meet the need of the market and also the industrial necessities, especially the industrial policies. Also, we have to adhere to the policies of environment and also to everything that could bring this project finance to be successful. Number 2, I think, is to have the best local partners, to have our counterparts. So these days we have been striving very hard to find important local partners to have interest alignment with us in order to address the problems of the foreign investment, like the issue of environment, labor, and licensing whatsoever. So I've been working with Export-Import China for over 20 years. We have been supporting and financing over 60% of China's overseas M&As and the project finance. Some of them are quite successful, and some of them are not, because most problems is not because of the technology itself, but because the issues not being addressed overseas. So we are here to find our local partners important. You are sovereign fund and your local investors to come with us to co-invest here in UAE, and we can do almost everything in, for instance, infrastructures, in public utilities, and also in Medicare, especially advanced technology and advanced manufacturing. And we believe that UAE has the best and most friendly environment for investment itself, and we love that. And Ms. Dalio, we talked with Ms. Dalio just now about his great love and compassion for China and Arab countries, and he has got a lot of good advice to Chinese government and the Chinese leaders, and we do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Ray, you mentioned this book, it's pretty famous, The Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. You spoke about something, you spoke about lots of things, but there's something that maybe more people need to understand, which is the big cycle.
Okay.
So if you can elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think my conversations with Chinese leaders has a much greater understanding of the fact that there are big cycles driven by things, because there have been so many of them in Chinese history, and every leader goes back thousands of years. I studied starting in the Qin dynasty, and I watched them all, and they all have the cycle, and they all have, and there's a cycle. There are 5 major forces that drive everything. First, there is a credit, money, debt, economic force that has a big cycle. And that is because credit gives buying power. And everybody wants the credit and wants the buying power, and they like buying, and then things go up. But what happens is it also creates debt. And debt is a requirement to pay back. And so there's a big cycle of rising debt relative to incomes because it's pushed. So in China and in the United States, we are seeing debt problems. As they rise, the debts relative to the incomes rise to the highest levels and are beginning to cause problems. And that problem can be addressed by either restructuring the debt or printing money and buying the debt. Okay, so there is a big cycle here that when you get to too much debt, then you have the problem and you have that. Okay, there's a second problem, there's a second cycle, which is the internal order and disorder cycle, or also the political cycle between the left and the right. And that when conditions get, as you have prosperity, with the prosperity and you have capitalism, you have greater wealth gaps and greater values gaps. And so we see this in China, we see this in the United States, and so on. And as that gets bigger and bigger gaps, there are different views about how that should be handled. And when conditions are not very good, then there's an internal conflict between the left and the right. Okay, so if we look at China in 1945 to 1949, or you look at others, you see that classic play out. The third is that there's internationally a great power conflict. So there's an internal order. So there's a monetary order. What's the monetary system? First one. What's the internal order system? What is the international order system? And that what happens through history, as you win a war, after you win a war, you're a dominant power, and you, because of the dominant power, have an ability to determine what the order looks like. And in the post-World War II period, the United States was the dominant power, and that determined the monetary system, the dollar system, that determined multilateralism, the World Bank, the World Health Organization, the World Court, the World this, the United Nations, because there was a multilateralism that the United States heavily influenced, like is how that's the world order should be. But then when you get to the fact that there's rising powers and not agreement that that's the way it should be, there is a change in that world order. So today we are going to unilateralism. You're not having the care of a multilateral. So if you're the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, any of those, you're essentially almost increasingly irrelevant, and that now you're seeing unilateralism by the United States in terms of, okay, an American first policy and so on. So you're seeing the change in the international global world order. The fourth influence, those are the first three, the fourth influence is acts of nature. Droughts, floods, and pandemics have killed more people than wars and toppled more orders than the first three influences. Chinese, if they understand Chinese history, know what droughts, floods, and pandemics have meant to Chinese and how many dynasties essentially suffered from those. So climate, as we look at climate, and particularly climate change now, that is a big influence. And then number 5 throughout history is man's learning and particularly technologies. And technologies are very important for human development, but they are also tools of war. So whoever wins the technology war is going to win the military war, going to win the geopolitical war, and so on. And those 5 influences. And they progress in a cycle, just like there's a debt cycle. And you know it in China, there was the Qing dynasty, and then, I won't take you all through that, but then there's the internal conflict over the money and the monetary system, and then you have the fighting with the outside power, and then you have, after that, the Civil War from 1945 to 1949. You have the Civil War, and then you have 2 new orders, the domestic order and the international world order. And that goes in that same cycle, and that's how it works, and that's what's going on now. And we're in that spot of the cycle, okay? We know where we are in that cycle. You could see, you look at the debt numbers, you look at the internal conflicts, you look at the external conflicts, okay? You look at climate and you look at technology, and it's obvious.
Wow. It's better hearing it from you than reading it in the book, to be honest.
I'm sorry, so many pages. But I put a lot of charts and things in there that are helpful.
Of course. Mr. Wei, I wanted to ask you about, that China has been at the center of technological innovation lately, particularly in the areas of AI and fintech, and things that we don't hear in the news. How do you see the role of the Chinese financial institutions in fostering international collaboration to support growth and innovation between nations and countries, especially when it comes to the topic of our discussion here, the Arab world and China, and really the US? How do you see that?
Okay. Yes, I have been working with the Exim Bank of China, supporting mostly the project finance in terms of infrastructure first. But now it come over to change to the fostering the AI and technology innovation, which is one of our mandate and mission. these days. CCT Fund is not only the manager of the China's Structural Reform Fund, which is the sovereign fund for investing in all the industries and manufacturing, but also we are co-manager of China National AI Fund, which was established this year in Shanghai, which is now we call it one of the center of the World AI Center. We are financing those equities not only like in AIGCs or large models, but also on specific algorithm for the specific occasion, for specific circumstances, in order to solve the problems of the efficiency of the industrial software. And we would like to share all our achievements of investment and all the achievements of those projects with UAE countries, UAEs, and also Abu Dhabi, as well as other Arab nations. And we have established quite a few R&D center in Thailand, in Malaysia, Indonesia, and a few developing countries for the EV vehicles. And that we are also planning to do so in Arab countries, especially in UAE and Saudi Arabia. And we are trying to financing those technology innovation first. Even we attach more importance on the technology innovation than the construction of those infrastructures. But of course, we would then do it according to the basic need of the country. For instance, for Saudi Arabia, we're more likely to support the infrastructure. But here in UAE and Abu Dhabi, we will have more investment in technology innovations, including AI and robot and all those linked technologies. So this is what we have done in previous years, and we will be doing so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very insightful. Mr. Dalio, before we let you go, I'm sure everybody has this question on their mind. As a renowned investor, private investor, what's your one piece of advice for us in preparation for the upcoming change in the world order? What should we do and prepare?
While there are national barriers as these countries go more to nationalism and so on, there is more than ever globalization. There are more deals. People are coming like this all over the place. What we look at and how we look at things together and do deals together has never been more global, and it's moving fast in that direction. And so that it's very important to understand the world globally. It's moving faster than ever, and it's more international. So the movement to internationalism has been throughout history, through centuries, accelerating at a path, and so don't think that the national boundaries are going to be the impediments for you doing things together, but you must do things together in order to have the perspectives that are so important that you need. You can no longer be provincial. You must be global, and you must be global by doing things together. So I would emphasize that importance.
Thank you.
Thank you. We remember that. Mr. Ran,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something same here, is to ask you as a sovereign fund manager from China, what's your one piece of advice for investors from China or investing into China?
Okay, first of all, I would do it the other way around. So first of all, for into China, I would like to say invest together with CCT Fund and us, because we are a sovereign fund. We have all those our shareholders from all walks of lives and every sector of industries, and we are very familiar with the case, what happened in China, including the manufacturing, including advanced technologies, and also including the Medicare sectors also. And for those companies and entrepreneurs presenting today coming to the Middle East, we would like to say it is very important to bring with your best technologies to adhere to and cater to the need of the local necessity, and also adhere to the policies of environment and the industry structures of the local country, and also to find a good partners. So that's why these days we're coming here, striving very hard to find our partners, maybe partners from the UAEs, to set up a new fund between us, that is a joint venture fund or a master fund for supporting the Chinese companies to invest in UAEs. So to form interest alignment between us. So that is my advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. With this, we come to the conclusion, and I thank, on your behalf, thank the speakers here and our friends, and hope that we have benefited and learned from this discussion today. And thank you.